Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we're going to be talking about the number one most rigged moment of every single season of RuPaul's Drag Race USA, not All Stars. We're just going to be talking about the main 17 seasons of the show. Now you're probably wondering, Derek, why are you in front of this purple velvet backdrop? That's not the wrinkled one that you usually have. And that's because this is my backdrop for Drag Duel Season 3, which is airing on Monday, this Monday, October 20th at 3 p.m. EST on the Drag Duel YouTube. And we have a fun little trailer. It's literally 90 seconds. Just give it a watch, give it a go. We have stepped up so much from Season 1 and Season 2. Our guest judges are insane. Just give this trailer a little watch and consider supporting myself, Bootsy, and all of the amazing drag artists from around the world that we have, because this season, the drag, the drama, everything about this season is bigger and better than ever before. So, without further ado, here is the trailer for Drag Duel Season 3.
Let a new battle commence!
14 drag artists from around the globe are fighting to become the new drag champion.
But who will be the next to take the crown?
Feeling very afraid.
This was not supposed to happen.
And we've gathered some sickening guests to help us whittle them down.
I thought she did an absolutely amazing, beautiful job.
It looks couture, it looks amazing.
You had me at Bukkake.
I'm gonna like, subscribe, comment, and follow.
I adore head to toe. This is thought through.
This is the worst look I have ever seen. I'm sorry.
14 warriors enter.
The gates are open, okay?
This is a game. They have turned this into a game.
Oh, you three I got my eye on, okay? Because I don't know what y'all be cooking up, but it's something devious.
Can you confirm whether or not you intentionally broke the rules?
I followed the rules on literally everything.
Hell fucking no.
That is when she told me to fuck off. All caps.
You're not that talented. You're not that pretty. You are going to go home very soon.
All hell kinda just broke loose.
But only one can emerge victorious.
Enjoy the games, warriors.
What?
Drag Duel Season 3 premieres October 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the official Drag Duel YouTube.
Again, we have put so much work into this season, and we are so proud of it. So please, please, please watch our season tomorrow, Monday, October 20th at 3 p.m. over on the Drag Duel YouTube. I will link it right down below at the top of the description. So consider that our sponsor for the day. So now we can get into this video. Sorry there hasn't been a video in like a week or so. For anyone who knows, when you up the meds, you go a little loony, but we are back, we are better, and I'm ready to talk about these first 17 seasons and what was the most number one rigged moment of every single one of them. So there are plenty of options for some seasons. There's kind of not many options for others. So I picked from me, looking at the storylines, looking at what the decisions were, felt like the most rigged, like the most planned, like the most just like produced moment of each season. So we will start at season 1, we will go all the way to season 17. So let's begin our journey all the way back in the year 2009. Some of you probably weren't even born. And we are going to start with season 1. Also, if you haven't been following the podcast, I do have a new mic. So hopefully the audio is better than it was in the past. Just a little sidebar. So season 1, what is the most rigged moment? This one was pretty simple. It was pretty easy. It was the Eurythmics lip sync, Would I Lie to You, with Jade and Rebecca Glasscock. And they gave Rebecca Glasscock the win over Jade, who clearly won this lip sync. This is the first time a split has ever been done on Drag Race. Jade does do a split here. And you would think that she just casually walked across the stage because no one cared. No one cared. Jade is giving so much. This is her first time in the bottom. This is Rebecca's first time in the bottom. And I would say both of them are kind of like, they're not like main characters, but Rebecca is kind of getting into her main character era because she is pissing off the queens left and right, specifically Jade. Jade does not like Rebecca. So the fact that they're in the bottom two together for this challenge, it's a good storyline moment. You know, they have some tension. And Jade beats Rebecca in the lip sync. She serves the song. Rebecca, for much of it, is just kind of like walking around. I love the moment when like Jade is like revving the engine while she's like in the split. But like you could say that the curse of like, if you're the bottom in a sexual moment between the queens in a lip sync, you are going to go home because like, I mean, Jade kind of does get a little sub here. And then Rebecca's kind of like has her hand on her throat. Drag is not a contact sport. Never heard of her. And so I would say that's maybe where they got that like Rebecca could win. But really, Rebecca just made better TV. Jade was never in the top. She was never really the main character of the season. Whereas Rebecca was apparently very disliked by the cast. She was, you know, getting all of these queens very upset with her and her behavior. And she was just making kind of good TV. So I think that that is the decision-making process here. You know, Jade isn't adding much to our show, but Rebecca is. Let's just give Rebecca another chance and see what happens. And, I mean, she manages to make it all the way to top 3, which I don't think Jade would have been able to do, no shade. And she definitely made the season very interesting. So I get why they did it. I understand the thought process, but it is the most rigged moment of season 1. And I would say the first rigged moment of the show, period. Like, that really felt this was staged, this was set up, this does not make sense with my French vanilla fantasy and the French vanilla fantasies of many other viewers at home. So this is like the inaugural moment of riggery, if you will. Now, moving into season 2, now obviously I haven't covered season 2 on the Riggery series, but I don't know if I would, because this season is very fair. I was like texting some people and just trying to get different opinions because I could not think of anything for season 2 that truly felt unfair. And the things that were unfair were like, well, this queen can't be in the bottom because she has immunity, like things like that. So the thing that I came up with, and upon discussing this with a friend or two, the thing that we came up with is the way that they sent home Sonique in episode 4. Now, Sonique was another person who was kind of not really like a main character. She wasn't featured much on the show itself, whereas she was in a lip sync against Morgan McMichaels, who is one of the, you know, villains of the season. She was, you know, causing fights, getting into fights, having really good confessional moments. And they end up in the bottom 2 together after the Snatch game, the first ever Snatch game. And it is definitely the best lip sync up to this point. Morgan is like, the choreo that she's pulling out, it's like, it's to Two of Hearts, and you would think that she has done this song a million times. And knowing Morgan, she probably has. And Sonique is also doing well and does all of these gymnastics. She's flipping, she's splitting, she's launching. And the response to that is, this is drag. This isn't gymnastics. What are you doing? Like, even when Kylie comes back on All Stars and does a very similar performance, everyone cheered. Everyone got up out of their seats and clapped and cheered. So the fact that, like, they were trying to make this seem like not a big deal, or like, girl, we're doing drag. We're not at the Olympics doing gymnastics. Like, this isn't a flipping competition. I was just like a little bit taken aback by that, and they definitely added those, you know, confessionals to try and like justify why Morgan won, which I don't think you needed to justify. Morgan had a win at this point. Kylie had never been in the top. She never won. I think you could just say, this is a great lip sync and great job to both of you, but there can only be one winner, and it's Morgan McMichaels. Or they could have done the first ever double save here, because this lip sync is definitely worthy of it. But to try and be like, nice try, Kylie, but we're doing drag here. I don't know what you're doing over there with your little flips and stuff, but we're over here, we're doing drag. That was just like a little bit strange. And maybe not riggery, but I mean, like I said, season 2 is very fair for the most part. So this was kind of the only thing that any of us could come up with when we discussed it. So that would be the moment for season 2. And moving into season 3, there was a lot of kind of talk about Raja being pushed. You know, she probably had the biggest name. She definitely had the biggest name on season 3. I mean, she was on multiple seasons of America's Next Top Model as the makeup artist. You know, she was constantly on screen. She had a presence. She knew RuPaul. She had been around for a long time. And you could just tell that the girls kind of expected her to win. As we know, Mariah, you know, left the congratulations Raja mirror message when she was eliminated. So there was a lot of kind of reasons for the show to want Raja to do well. Now, I don't think that she was pushed necessarily, but one of her challenge wins is definitely a bit suspicious. And it is when she won the cake challenge. It was a design challenge, one of the 4,700 of them on season 3, where they were each given a different type of cake, and they had to make a look that kind of represented that cake. I would love if they brought something like this back. Like, you know, I feel like we kind of do a lot of the, like, drag on a dime or, like, elegance or, like, you know, they don't really have, like, specific themes, but, like, this is, like, a really fun theme I would love to see back. And Raja, you know, she's making this chocolate cake look, and it's cute, you know what I mean? It has a nice hood, you know, the little peplum bump at the waist is cute, but it's definitely nothing crazy. And, you know, you could see some of the undergarments. It's a good look, but for Raja, she had done better. And I think in this challenge, there were other people that did better. I think that Yara Sofia, oh my gosh, Yara Sofia's look in this episode is so beautiful. It looks like she brought it from home. It does not look like she constructed this in a day. And I truly think this should have been Yara's first win, and it would have been a nice moment, because she doesn't get her first win until much later in the competition, I think at Final 5. And, you know, she'd been doing well so many times throughout the season and was kind of getting, like, edged. She was getting gooned for her first win, and I think this should have been Jada's first win, but they had to give it to Raja as, like, the fashion diva. I just think this isn't Raja's best work, and I think that it was fine, but not win-worthy. So I do think that they were maybe trying to have another moment of like, oh my gosh, Raja is the fashion diva. I mean, look at what she's creating. But if you look at a lineup, this is not the first or maybe even second or third look that you would point out as one that is worthy of getting a challenge win. But again, season 3 is pretty fair for the most part, so there's not really much to choose from. This is one that definitely stood out to me, though. Moving into season 4, I think it has to be the episode where Sharon Needles and Fifi O'Hara are in the bottom lip syncing, and it's just then, just in that moment, that they decide, you know what, enough is enough. Willam, you know, we gotta let her go. She broke a rule. We gotta let her go, because as Willam has said many times, and obviously her story changes a little bit every time, but she'd clearly been breaking rules all season long. She had a show she wanted to go to. She was like, I made it far enough. I'm out. I'm ready to hit it. She didn't like how production was treating the queens, and it was clear that they could have sent her home whenever they wanted. She'd been breaking rules the entire time. But it wasn't until the rivalry of the season, Sharon Needles and Fifi O'Hara, were in the bottom 2 against each other, and both did pretty well in the lip sync to It's Raining Men, that they decided now is the time to get rid of Willam. And I feel like this is just kind of like everything kind of happened perfectly. It just made sense. You know, Willam just won her second challenge. She clearly was doing well in the competition. She probably would have done well in, you know, the last couple challenges as well. She probably could have made it to the end, but there was no way that they were going to give her the crown with, you know, her behavior on and off screen. So they can kind of solve 2 problems. They can keep Sharon and Fifi, keep the rivalry going. They can reward a pretty good lip sync, and they can get rid of Willam all in one fatal swoop. So it's not rigged that, you know, they sent Willam home and kind of disqualified her. It's rigged that they did it in this moment when they had a myriad of other, you know, opportunities to do so. They chose this moment. But I think this makes sense. I think it made good TV, and I think it kind of solved all of the production problems all at once. So rigged, but like understandably so. Now, season 5 is another pretty fair season, and it was hard to find something, but I do think the first ever double elimination in Drag Race history between Vivian Panay and Honey Mahogany, they could have kept somebody. I do think there was a winner of this lip sync, I do think it was Honey Mahogany, but neither Vivian nor Honey, from what we saw, were involved in any of the storylines, were giving incredible TV, or were, doing exceptionally well in the competition. So I think this was a way to, let someone have a double save later in the season, which they do with Alyssa and Roxy. And they can kind of get rid of two characters that aren't really giving much to the narrative or to the competition. So I think they could have easily given it the win to Honey Mahogany, and, she could have moved on maybe a couple more episodes. But I think, again, this is, rigged, but understandably so, and the lip sync wasn't good. So, sending them both home is a gaggy moment that's warranted, and also probably does better for the show. So, rigged, but understandably so. Now, season 6 this is kind of where I feel like a lot of the riggery starts coming in, and there are a couple things I could have chosen. I think that, Dayla being saved could have been the moment. There's some moments in the beginning part of the season that Adore was definitely saved from the bottom, but the one that I chose that I think had the most moving parts, and kind of the last one fixed a lot of the problems that production was having, was keeping Darian Lake out of the bottom during the rap challenge. Now, this is the famous "Girl, why you in bare feet?"
Girl, why you all in bare feet? Walking down the dirty city street. Keep your shoes on, honey, to make that money. Cut your toenail dragging and it sure ain't fun.
And this was clearly the worst performance of the night by far. I would say one of the worst girl group performances ever. And she definitely should have been in that bottom. And then, there were a couple of other people that didn't do fantastic. Trinity didn't do super well. Laganja didn't do super well. Milk did okay, but in the runway didn't do well. So there's other options for who could have been in that bottom. But I would say that Trinity does make sense. I think, and maybe I'm just, saying this as a Milk stan, but, there was a time when everyone loved Milk and everyone was, rooting for her. I think in this challenge, yes, she's a little bit milky, but I still think she had a pretty good verse. Obviously, the energy is a little off, but I think that her verse was good. I think that Milk could have just been low, and, you could have had Darian and Trinity in the bottom, but again, then they would have to make that a double save, I'm assuming, or have to lose Darian Lake, which I'm sure they did not want to do, because Dayla and Darian were, the main rivalry of the season, or one of the main rivalries of the season, of the myriad of rivalries on this season. So they saved Darian. They put Milk in the bottom, who, they just were not vibing with her drag. They asked her to do glamour, and she wasn't able to deliver it to the same caliber of everyone else and what they were hoping to see from her. So it kind of ends Milk's storyline and sends her home when she's not able to kind of conform to what the show is asking for. And they're also able to save Darian, who they did not want going anywhere because she was, a really good villain. She had many storylines going on this season. So it's a kind of another two birds with one stone kind of thing, but Darian clearly should have been in the bottom for this challenge, but Milk was definitely sacrificed here, I think. Season 7, I would have to say it would be Max's elimination, just because we know that, things were edited differently to make Max look like a lunatic, and I think there was a reason for them to want to get her out because, she was winning challenges, she won 2, but you could tell that the judges just didn't live for her like they did for other queens like, Ginger and Katya and Kennedy. So I think that they wanted her out. They didn't want her to be towards the end. They saw their opening and they took it. But, it was the Snatch game. Max absolutely did bad. But I think that if she was in the bottom with, Miss Fame, which probably should have happened, at least Jaden Dior Fierce landed a joke or two. Max and Miss Fame were the two worst by far. I think if she was in the lip sync next to Miss Fame, there was at least a shot that she could have won that lip sync because, Miss Fame, we only saw her lip sync once, but it wasn't giving. So I think that they did whatever they could to make sure that Max was out, putting her in the bottom with Jaden, who is a fantastic lip syncer, especially to No More Lies. Come on. I think they were doing whatever they could to make sure Max was outie, and it worked, and here we are, which is still sad because I think she could have been a really huge part of the fandom. I think that she has a really fun brain, and I would have loved to see what she would have done if she made it further. But that's what I'm going to pick for season 7. Season 8, it's another really fair season. I even went through the Wrigley video and like there was like no red circles to be found in those graphics. So I will say the most rigged moment is putting Layla McQueen in the bottom, episode 1. Layla was just a very kind of shy, like she had a small personality at the time. You could tell she wasn't like super ready to be, you know, on camera in front of, you know, all of these queens, like really making good TV. And she was just shy, small. She was making herself small, and despite making a really badass jacket in the challenge, she was put in the bottom mostly because of the mini challenge, which was a photo shoot with all of the past winners. And usually the photo shoot would not matter when it comes to the, you know, final critiques for the episode, but they specifically made sure to highlight this because they needed her in the bottom somehow. And Robbie Turner, who probably should have been in the bottom instead, was already kind of coming in with like a big storyline. You know, she won the mini challenge. Then she, you know, gave herself the wrong category when she got to give out all the categories for the design challenge. Like, she was already a big character. It would have sucked to lose her, but I think they were willing to lose Layla here. So I would say that is the most rigged moment of season 8. Season 9, I think it is the talk show, the morning talk show, Good Morning Bitches challenge, where I think the bottom 2 should have been Peppermint and Charlie. Now, Peppermint mostly for that runway. Like, her and Trinity both weren't good in the challenge, but Peppermint's runway, I mean, this is one of the worst runways of the last, I'd say, 10 seasons. This runway, the Naughty Nighties look is bad. The hair's bad. The look is bad. It's everything about it is bad. And while Trinity was the team leader, she did do better than Peppermint in the challenge. But I think putting her in the bottom because she did a poor job as leader is exactly why they did it. I think it's a better storyline. Her team was mad at her. And let's be real, like, Peppermint or Trinity would have been sending Charlie home. So it's not like it really changed that much. But I do think that they made a moment out of putting Trinity Taylor at the time in the bottom and kind of showing what she can do in a lip sync, which was, I think, still one of her best lip syncs she's ever done, if not her best, to I Wanna Go. Like, she ate that up. Again, season 9 is not really that rigged, so this is kind of a smaller moment, but I just think it showed that, you know, they saw the moment that, like, they could put the team leader in the bottom for failing her team, and they took it. Up next, we have season 10. We're in the double digits, and this one was very obvious to me. It was how they edited the season 10 finale, saving Aquaria from elimination so that she could then go on to be the winner. I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but season 10, you know, when it came to that finale, there was a lot of factors that came into play on who could win and why shouldn't people win. And I think going in, we have a top 4 of Cameron Michaels, Aquaria, Eureka, and Asia. I think Cameron was out of contention from the start. Cameron, she just didn't perform super well throughout the competition. She just didn't have a winner's edit. She only won one challenge. She was in the bottom, I think, 3 times. She had a smaller personality. So I think that she was great as a finalist, but I don't think there was a chance in hell they were going to let her win that season. So that leaves 3. And then Eureka is having all of these scandals at the time. You know, we've moved on, I think. I don't know. Who knows with Eureka? I feel like it's touch and go with Eureka all the time with this fandom. But you know, she was involved in a lot of stuff that just would not look good for the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race to be associated with. So I think that took Eureka out of contention. So that leaves Asia O'Hara and Aquaria. And I think that they were probably equally willing to crown either. I think that Aquaria really, you know, fit well with like the younger audience, you know, the fashion audience. She has a really unique perspective. She comes in with big ideas. But she kind of was like the villain for part of the season, and we kind of just saw her maybe lose a little bit of this like cocky attitude that she was using as like a defense mechanism, and we see her grow throughout the season. Asia was like the professional, the pageant girl. She always was helping people. She was the mother figure. She was just so sweet, so wonderful. She won multiple challenges. She was only in the bottom once. I think there were reasons why either of them could be winners. So when it comes for the lip sync tournament for the crown, and Asia loses the first lip sync by slaughtering an entire nest of butterflies, Aquaria is the only option left to crown. And Aquaria and Eureka lip sync next, and Aquaria loses. Multiple people who were at that finale have said that Aquaria fell at one point, and that when the lip sync was over, everyone was cheering Eureka's name. But then they both win, and Aquaria's fall is edited out of the final lip sync. And, I think that I think that was a good decision, just because of how much was going on with Eureka. I do think it would have been risky to, make her the winner at that point in time. So then, Aquaria does really, really well in the last lip sync. She's able to win, but just by having that double win, by editing out Aquaria's thing, and by, awarding both in what was clearly to the audience's perspective a Eureka, lip sync win, that was riggery. But again, understandable riggery. Now, if we want to talk about some not understandable riggery, we're going to talk about season 11 and Shuga Cain's elimination. So we're at the top 7. It is the Abracadagra, the Magic Challenge, and they're split into 2 groups. One group is Brooklyn Heights, Shuga Cain, and Nina West, and they slay it. All 3 of them have jokes, all of them are funny, all of them have stage presence, they look good. It's a great challenge for the 3 of them. The other team is Vanjie, it's Yvie Oddly, it's A'keria Chanel Davenport, and it's Silky Nutmeg Ganache. And this team is a mess. There is just no cohesion. Obviously Yvie and Silky aren't working well together. Vanjie in the mix too. It's not the best. And it's very awkward. And very clearly, they are the losing team. The problem is putting 2 of them in the bottom when they are kind of the main characters of the season, along with Brooke. You're going to lose a really, really important character. I would say of the 4, A'keria was probably the least important, but I think that she had the most winning potential of these 4, besides Yvie. But Yvie was kind of in a downward arc at the moment. So at this point in time, I think that of these 4, A'keria had the best winning chances. Yvie will surpass her later, but at this point, Yvie's not doing it as well. You can't send home Silk, you can't send home Yvie, because they want this, finalist. They're gonna, work through their differences at the finale with their lip sync. And Vanjie, they can put in the bottom. So we have to sacrifice Shuga Cain, who has a bad look, but was in the winning group. It's clear what they were trying to do, and really, they should have just made this the Silky and Yvie bottom 2 lip sync. I think that you can do that here. You could do that in the next episode, but they were waiting and pushing it off to make it the finale thing, when really, they were given a golden opportunity, and they chose not to do anything with it, and Shuga Cain paid the price. One of the most rigged eliminations in all of Drag Race history is Shuga Cain going home here. So I had to pick it for the season 11 moment. And for season 12, of course, it's going to involve the Pie one, a queen who I'm sure production, we all are now very clear, production saw as a winner, as someone they wanted to crown, as someone they wanted to push. Sherry Pie. Predator extraordinaire, some might call her. She wins the episode 3 challenge, World's Worst. It's an improv challenge where they have to be bad, comically bad American Idol / America's Got Talent contestants. And Sherry isn't even the best of her own group. You know what I mean? There's a clear winning group of Heidi N Closet, Jackie Cox, and Gigi Goode. I would say Heidi probably would have won this challenge if I were judging, and I think a lot of other people share this sentiment, but they wanted Sherry Pie to be a front runner from the start, and so they give her the win, which is, I think, one of the top 5 most questionable wins of all of Drag Race. Now, she does win a second challenge later, the Gays Anatomy, which a lot of people disagree with. I personally see why she did win that one, but the World's Worst, no. Horrible episode, horrible choices, horrible person. So I guess it all kind of goes together. You know what I mean? Okay, season 13. There's 100 options. There's the Pork Chop Lounge. There's the Makeover Challenge. But I chose Gottmik getting saved in the Disco-mentary because, again, it was kind of another, 2-for-1 special. Gottmik was the worst in this challenge. Period, Gottmik was the worst. And then, they tried to hide it. They didn't, do a lot of, close-ups on her. They were focusing more on Candy and on Tina Burner. Gottmik was the worst in this challenge. But this was the 5th episode. Almost nobody had gone home yet. There's no way you can send Gottmik home 3rd. You know what I mean? Like, it's Gottmik. Even back then, she was so big. It was such a huge get for the show to have Gottmik on. The first trans man on the show. Like, there's just so many reasons why, like, you want Gottmik to do well. You want Gottmik to go to the end. And she flops this challenge. Meanwhile, we have this huge rivalry with Candy Muse and Tamisha Iman, where it almost got physical. Like, they were going to punch each other out. Like, they do not like each other. So, Candy's in the bottom. Let's just throw Tamisha in the bottom, save Gottmik, and then they can, like, battle it out in a lip sync battle. When really, I feel like if they had kept Tamisha, there could have been so much more going on with her and Candy's storyline. And I feel like Tamisha probably would have gone a lot further in the season. But I get why you don't want to lose Gottmik. I just feel like there maybe was someone else they could, if they wanted to rig it, there was someone else you could have thrown into the bottom. Maybe Elliot, because why not? Season 14, the chocolate bar. The chocolate bar. The end, it's the chocolate bar. Duh. Like, I feel like they fixed this a little bit in season 17, because they also kind of had like a fail-safe with the like, pull the lever, Kronk, whatever we're calling it, the dunk tank. But that one really did feel more random. Like, whoever was going to choose the 1, whoever was going to choose the 7, they were going to get saved. With the chocolate bar, unless those queens kept the chocolate bar in their bras and never let go of that chocolate bar, I don't believe for a second that they didn't switch them out. I don't believe for a second that they didn't just, when they wanted it to be used, hand them, okay, here's your chocolate bar, and it's the one with the golden ticket. Like, it was a get out of jail card. It was a, second chance pass, and they were going to give it to whoever they felt deserved another chance when going home. And I feel like this somewhat also makes it so that they can put people in the bottom when they deserve it, which I feel like they did. I feel like the bottoms on this season were a little bit more fair than the previous couple seasons. But then when Bosco, who has 2 challenge wins at this point, loses a lip sync to Georges, they can just be like, oh, like, you're going to stay. So it really was just a total rig from the jump. The whole inception of this twist was rigged from the jump. Is it bad that they did that? No, but I think that they're underestimating the intelligence of their audience because even the people who aren't like watching the show under a microscope like I am, even they were like, oh, that's rigged. So I would say that it did not work. Bosco did end up winning the next challenge, but it's not like she had a chance. She had a chance of winning, but it was so clear that it was like between 2 other people that weren't her by the time finale came that I don't think it changed much except, letting her make it to the finale. So that's got to be it for season 14. Season 15, I think it has to be the design challenge. This challenge, they get put into little like houses, like fashion houses, and they have like different styles of materials to make outfits out of based on Carson, Ross, and Michelle. Now, this season is rough because there's 16 queens. It's the most there's ever been. And this was episode 5, I believe. So with 16 people and, 6 people usually getting critiqued every week, there were so many queens that had not been critiqued yet. And magically, they all get critiqued this episode in like crazy ways. Malaysia Baby Doll Fox comes out in one of the worst looks by far of the night. And she has this whole storyline on how she's never sewn before, she's really nervous, and they kind of give her the like, you did it, champ, and she's in the top. Robin Fierce, who, has a really good look, but I would say is probably safe-ish, like towards the top, but I would say safe. They put her in the top. Selena S. Titties, who has such a fun look that's maybe not the most fitted, but definitely has a lot of technical skill involved. She's thrown into the bottom. And basically all of this was just to make sure that everyone was going to get critiqued. Because if you're not getting critiqued in the episodes and you don't have like a huge storyline, it's easy for the fans to just like totally forget about you. So I truly feel like everything about this episode was about how do we get these couple queens that have yet to kind of have a critique from the judges into the top or the bottom. But all it does is make for a very confusing and weird judging segment and final decision. It's kind of like, why is Selena down there? Why is Malaysia in the top? Like, so much of this just did not make sense whatsoever. So I would say it's that episode that is the most rigged for season 15. For season 16, we are now like in like the modern era. And I think the 16, the most rigged moment is Nymphia not being in the bottom for Snatch Game. Now, first, R.I.P. Jane Goodall. I remember learning about her in, like, elementary school, and the fact that she's now gone, like, what a legend, what a wonderful human who has done so much for the animal community. So sad that she's gone. What a diva. But Nymphia plays her in Snatch Game, and it is abysmal. Like, it is bad. It is so bad. And she does have a really, really wonderful runway, but I don't know if it was enough to keep her out of the bottom, especially because Morphine, who played Anna Delvey, was not good. She wasn't good in the challenge, but Nymphia was so much worse. And Tsunami was also kind of like a clear bottom. And this is why I don't understand why they didn't just put Nymphia in the bottom. Maybe it's because she had kind of a cumbersome look on, but like, she would have beat Tsunami in the bottom. And even if Tsunami did a little bit better than her, like, Nymphia had like 2 wins at this point, and Tsunami had been safe the entire season. So I don't think that it would have been like rigged to keep Nymphia over Tsunami. I just think they didn't want to put Nymphia in the bottom this early. And I guess this is almost like the halfway point at this point, but they just did not want to put Nymphia in the bottom. When really, I think this could have been a good moment for her, because I don't think she ever lip-synced. I'm doing calculations in my head. I don't think she ever lip-synced, and I think seeing her in the bottom and seeing her be, like, super vulnerable could have really helped her storyline, because I know for me, I didn't feel like I ever really got to know Nymphia that well, and I feel like a moment like that, seeing someone in the bottom and, like, surviving it, is really, like, it, like, makes you feel for them more, and it really kind of, like, bonds the audience to the queen better. So, I think it was a missed opportunity for some good storyline potential for Nymphia, but they had to keep her safe. And finally, for season 17, I almost picked a couple things, but I do think the one that was the most, like, clear, here is exactly what they are trying to do, and it this time backfired in their face, is when they put Lana Jarrett in the bottom with Lydia Butthole Collins during the acting challenge. There was such a clear bottom to this episode between Jules Sparkles and Lydia Butthole Collins, but RuPaul and the judges and the queens, and I think they knew the audience, all really, really fell in love with Lydia. And I think to the song, which was Unholy by Kim Petras and Sam Smith, they knew that Jules was going to beat Lydia to that song. So they decided, let's just throw Lana Jarrett in the bottom, who has already had a couple bottom placements. She hasn't won a challenge at this point. So even if the lip sync is close, we can justify Lydia sending her home. Especially because Lydia had just won her first challenge. It felt like she was really kind of picking up some momentum. She had this whole storyline with Corey King. Like, Lydia was one of the main characters of the season, and I don't think they wanted to lose her. While someone like Lana, who I just don't think they ever really knew what to do with in the narrative, and who never, like, truly popped out as a competitor on the season, like, was going to move on. So they rigged it. They kept Jules out of the bottom. They put Lana there when Lana, I think, did a really great job this week. And Lydia botches the lip sync, and Lana stays. So this one did blow up in their face, but I get what they were trying to do. Just did not work this time. So those were my picks for the most rigged moment of every season. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree, if you disagree, what you are feeling. Also, the rigged recap, my podcast will be going on a short hiatus until season 18 premieres, where Kayla Says and I will be back for more rigged recap action. Maybe bigger and better than ever. We have some things planned. But if you are a member of this channel, like these lovely people are, thank you to all of my members, I appreciate you all, then you get weekly rigged recap quick case videos, where I'm going to be talking about Dragula Titans 2, UK 7, I'll be talking about Canada 6, I think we're on 6 now. Any seasons that aren't covered on the rigged recap, I will cover on the rigged recap quick cases videos on this channel for members. You also get some fun other perks as well. So if you want to help me, support me, and get some extra content in return, then become a member right down there by the subscribe button of this channel. I appreciate you all so much. Again, Drag Duel Season 3 premieres October 20th, this Monday at 3 p.m. on the Drag Duel YouTube channel. Come watch live and jump into the chat and have fun with some other fans of the show. Just be respectful of our cast, because I'm watching you. I'm watching you. The links to all of my social medias are in the description down below, and I want to thank all of you so much today for watching. So I will catch you all in the next one.